Greetings, everyone. Everybody's doing well today. We're going to give everybody a few minutes to get on in the room and get situated. If you can, put what state that you're from for me into the chat. If you can hear me, can you put a one? Oh, there we go. There we go. Nashville, Georgia, Maryland, Department of Agriculture, University of Anambra State, Nigeria. Awesome, 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 awesome. Down here in Georgia, we just got some rain finally. We were under a severe drought. And I'll just take a moment to talk about why regenerative agriculture systems are so important. Because when you don't have your typical weather, if the system is set up properly, yeah, it was beautiful rain today. And then the sky opened up, beautiful blue sky, the plants well watered, New York. Okay. And it was just so timely. So typically, April showers bring May flowers. Well, we didn't have any rain down here in Georgia for the first, for almost the entire month of April. But it finally came and everything is just looking lush and lavish. I have some strawberries in the yard, and so they're finally doing what strawberries are supposed to do. Awesome. Okay, so we got a nice diversity of people coming in. Does anybody have a garden? If you have a garden, put a yes in the chat for me. Or if you want one, put a uploading or coming or put a two. Put a one if you have one, put a two if you're planning to get one. Okay. What are you growing? Ooh. Awesome. Some celery, some potatoes, some pumpkins, and some flowers. I actually got into agriculture by growing flowers. And I started growing edible flowers. And then I grew a beet. And once I figured out I could grow a beet, it was over with. I've been growing food ever since. Beans, tomatoes, butternut squash, one of my favorites, potatoes, sweet potatoes, flowers, and herbs. Did you all, I don't know if you all knew this, but one of the beauties of sweet potatoes is that you're actually able to eat the greens off of the sweet potatoes as well. They cook down just like spinach and they can be eaten raw as a lettuce substitute. So if you didn't know, now you know that you can eat sweet potato greens. And if you already knew, then keep eating them. Yes, yes. I grew fluted pumpkin, cassava, bitter leaf. I don't know about bitter leaf, scent leaf, and turmeric. Yes. That's one of the things I love about herbs. They're the gift that really just keeps on giving. Um, I have so the strawberries that I have, y'all will be able to see, that I have in one of my sites. uh, the strawberries were started from strawberries that I took from my aunt's house. And now we're going on how many years later? 5 years later, and strawberries galore. Strawberries galore, and they're perennial, so they come back every single year. Don't have to replant. They and they're ground cover, so they help do that. So yeah, we're gonna wait just about another 3 minutes before we officially get started and go through, learn, just have a good time today. Expect to sing. I'm gonna go ahead and let everybody know that. So get your get your voices ready. I'm gonna use a psalm in order to teach you all how to grow food. And we're gonna go through what is needed for you to have a resilient home food system for your family. We're living in different times and the cost of food is going up as we know. So how do we posture ourselves to be able to make sure that we have something available and that we prepare the best that we can? Um, so that way we have the nourish, not only just have food, but have good food that's available to us. Does anybody have any fruit trees? Ah, okay. Talk to me. Okay, awesome. I have some figs. Figs are one of my favorites. They're so easy to grow. If you want to make another fig, they're really easy. Just cut off a limb, stick it in the ground. Mulberries do that as well. Um, yeah, so we got a few more people in. If when you come in, please put where you're from and if you have a garden or not. Jackfruit. Ooh, so you're in the truck pawpaw. And some soursop. Okay. Some guavas and some orange. Sounds like a food forest over there. That's always a good time. All right. We are about to get started, everybody. And so here we go. So I hope everyone's doing well today. I am here on behalf of Quality Care for Children. They put this together to be able to work with and just share some information to make sure that families have access to fresh food. So we're going to do a little icebreaker. So like I said, I want everybody to have a good time. We're going to learn and have some fun all at the same time. So if you have some joy, put your right hand up. If you have some thankfulness, put your left hand up. Whether you got both hands up, one hand up, or no hands up, let me get a ah, ah, a, deep breath, e, e, o, o, ooh. Ooh. All right. So I'd work with early childhood education facilities. And so I go in all the way from the 2-year-olds all the way to the 5-year-olds, pre-K students. And that's how I get the day started with them. You know, if it's a thumbs up day, let's get some thumbs up. Little children are so impressionable. So why not impress them with the things that they'll be able to use? Number one, being able to just take a deep breath, slow down depending on where you're living at. Life is life, and it moves, and we're just in such a big groove. Well, my name is Corey McNair. I am born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. I went to school at Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. Got a degree in agricultural business with a focus in global human sustainability and obesity prevention. I began my company then, which is by the name Ya Roots, as a way. I started working with a community nonprofit, and it was a youth farm. And at the youth farm, we were teaching children how to grow food, and then also use it for entrepreneurship. But what got me hooked on local, hyper local food and just being able to grow something yourself. There was a little girl named Kamaya. Kamaya would have been labeled with all of your ABCs, your ADHD, ADD, all of these different things. And every day she would go to the corner store and get a pack of cookies and her red drink. I watched her make the decision to start coming over to the garden and picking curly leaf kale every day. And within 2 weeks, all of the ABCs disappeared. Just from her making the decision, well, number one, the availability, the food being there for her, but then her making the decision to come over to the garden and just pick some curly leaf kale and eat it every day. It literally changed the whole trajectory of her life and just her accessibility. So within the first 5 years of a child's life and their adolescence, based on the quality of the food that they eat, it directly impacts their intellectual capacity. So let me repeat that. Within the first 5 years of a child's life, based on the quality of the food that they eat, it directly impacts their intellectual capacity. So we're not even dealing with the functioning, just the amount of information that they're able to hold is directly linked to that. In addition to, in those first 3 months, well, in that third trimester is when the nerves for hearing begins. And so being able to speak to the children, even in womb, eating good food, because that's literally what's going to define the children. Quality care for children, of course, is very big on literacy. I use one of the books that they've created in order to do some of my programming, which you see in the group that's there in the back at pre-K preparatory school. And being able to just spend this little bit of time of being intentional as parents, reading with the children and just making sure that they're getting good food and have access to it. Now, everybody's not going to have a farm, and that is perfectly fine. But knowing a farmer is real good. So I'm going to start now. We're going to hop into a song. If there's any questions, please don't hesitate to ask them. But we are going to have question and answers also at the end. And so the song goes, if you want to grow a plant, now you say, if you want to grow a plant, you need some high sunshine. You need some high sunshine. You need some water running low. You need some water running low. Find yourself some good soil. Find yourself some good soil. Hands full of good seeds. Hands full of good seeds. Then you sow. Then you sow. Tell it grow. Tell it grow. And now you know. And now you know. Clap it up for yourselves, everybody. Clap it up for yourselves. And so that's a simple song, and we're going to get into the benefits of it when we get into the home garden portion of this webinar. But it makes you account for sunlight, for water, for soil, good seed, and most importantly, the sowing of good seed and the expectation of growth, putting purpose on it, telling it to grow. And it's the same thing that we do with our children. We want to make sure that we put purpose on them and that we speak life into them because they're just like a plant. They're going to grow. And the words that we feed them are what is going to build that plant and grow that plant. So I'm going to go to screen share now and we'll start off here. Okay, that's up. Let me make this. All right, here we go, everybody. See if there's a way to put this off to the side. So real quick. Maybe I don't see that. So secure your plate, the home food security workbook, a practical guide to assessing and strengthening your household food security. And so we got a bunch of different meals here on the plate. And like I said, it's just a practical guide. This will also be made available to you all after the class. But this is just a basic rough overview of your current food security within your own home. There we go. Uh, this is a quote that I want everybody to think about. They who feed you control you. I'll say it one more time. They who feed you control you. When you don't have access or are in control of your own food, then it puts you in a state of dependency for others to bring you your food. With that as well, we have to think, what is the intent of the person preparing your meals? Is it profit driven? Is it convenience driven? Or is it nourishment driven? So back to Kamaya, like I was telling you all, that curly leaf kale that she was picking, the difference between the kale that she was able to pick out of the community garden, which was right across the street from her house, and the kale that's in the store is that within the first 10 minutes of a plant being picked, it's losing over 80% of the nutrients out of it within the first 10 minutes. So when we're getting food that's being brought to us from thousands of miles away, or hundreds of miles away, we may think that we're eating healthy and we're doing the best that we can. Using what we have available, but we have to understand that at that point, we're not eating for nutrients, we're still eating for calories. So that's one of the benefits of being able to have food close to you or knowing where you can go to get it and being able to eat it is within that first 10-minute gap. It's a completely different experience with your food. Now, some things will ripen more as they sit, but with your fresh greens and those types of things, that's how it is. So, so we're going to look at this from 5 pillars of the home. Water, we know how important water is. Storage, how we're preserving and maintaining our pantry buffer. Production, growing your own supplements at home. Community building networks with local growers. And access, where and how you acquire fresh food. So water, storage, production, community, and access. The same one. There we go. Auditing your everyday food access. Plot your frequent food stops based on distance, frequency, and cost per visit. Maximize your use of SNAP and WIC benefits in the upper quadrants. So when we look at this graph, in this area, this is like your grocery stores. So well, healthy food. So this is what's defined as healthy food, to the average person, which is fine. And then we have our grocery stores, then we have our fast food, and then we have our restaurants. So I want you all to just take a moment or put into the chat, what is a grocery store that you go to, or what is a healthy food place, or fast food, we favor fast food or your favorite restaurant. If you're able to put that in the chat, and I'll give just a minute for that as you just take a second to just think about it. Think about where you go, what you get, and what's available to you. Let me see some of these. Okay, we got Publix, got Walmart, Publix. Okay. Okay, cool. Good. So the reason that I wanted to ask that is because based off of where you shop and get your food, one of the things that we have in Georgia, and I know they're in other places as well too. We have the DeKalb Farmers Market. We have the Atlanta Food Market over near the airport. And so those are places where you can get bulk food. So one of the things that I want us to think about in acquiring food is, where can I go to get bulk food? So we've got like Costco, we've got like Sam's. And so that way your dollar stretches a lot further in some of those places, getting that wholesale price as opposed to getting that retail price. And you may be saying to yourself, well, I'm not going to eat all that food. Well, it's a great time to tag a friend and say, hey, we're going to go get a 50 bag pound of oats. I'm gonna take 25 pounds and you take 25 pounds and be able to store it up and put it up and just work together. Also, with your grocery stores, knowing the days that your grocery stores have like the buy one, get ones where you can get two of the product for the price of one. Those kinds of things really, really, really come in handy. And a good practice that you can do is when they do have those buy one, get ones, and you go in there and you didn't know it was going to happen, take one of whatever you're purchasing and use it like you planned on. And for the other one, instead of eating it right away, we're going to talk about storing it, which we'll get into later on. The sourcing matrix, weigh your options as far as the supermarkets, because like I said, we want to make every dollar stretch. So we're going to look at accessibility, the cost, the nutritional quality, and the intent of the provider. Back to that intent. So with the supermarkets, one of the big things is the accessibility is high, just in some areas, there you can get to a supermarket somewhere. The cost, it can vary depending on which one you're at. The nutritional quality, like we were talking about, where's the food coming from? How far is it coming from? How long has it been sitting in the warehouse before it got to distribution? And sometimes, in some cases, you're getting food that has been picked within a week to 3 weeks before it makes it to your shelf. So we got to think about these things because sometimes you go into the grocery store and they say it's fresh, but just it looks a little questionable. Also, like I said, the intent of the provider, because we want to be intentional about everything that we do. We're intentional about raising our children, we're intentional about feeding our children. And corporations are intentional about profit. And that's okay. And so knowing where you're getting your food from, what's the intent of wherever you're getting it from? From the fast food chains, accessibility, super high. Could have put that in there, put that on there. The cost, which is low, um, which is intentional. The nutritional quality, absolutely a warning with that one, and a fast turnover. They want to get, that's why they're getting shipments on a regular basis. So you have to just think about what's the intent of the food. Then the farmers markets. One of the big things on here is the seasonal, the moderate and seasonal. They're not all the time. You may not have one in your area, so you may have to go to a town over in order to reach a farmer's market. And so it's seasonal. And this is really important with the seasonal, especially when we get into just accessibility, health, our relationship to food. Um, One of the things that I learned earlier on was that your greens that typically grow in your cooler months, which is when you have sniffles and all those other things, and coughs and all that fun stuff, your greens have more vitamin C than your citrus. And so just by eating some greens every day, you're able to keep your vitamin C levels up without having to take an artificial supplement or drinking a whole bunch of orange juice. Just being able to have access to some turnip greens, some mustard greens, some kale greens, different types of greens. The investment in quality, that's a good piece. The quality, we have to think about quality first, I would say, because if we're healthy, then that deters other things. If we're putting the right things in our body, then it's able to properly take care of itself. Um, and the community nourishment. Now you're working and you're meeting your neighbors, you're meeting your farmer, and you're fueling your community. One of the things about the big supermarkets is a lot of times they're not actually giving back in necessarily your community. They may have a community that they're giving back to and that they're serving, but it just may not be your community. So when you're able to work with farmers markets, you're supporting your local economy, your local system, your community. Water security audit. So I want you to think about this. I have access to clean water for drinking and cooking. I have access to clean water for gardening. As my water source is free from contaminants. And I put this in here because this is a wonderful resource. If you're questioning your water or want to question your water or want to get the children involved and see, okay, let's find out what all is in our water. Home Depot has free water test kits available. You can just go in, ask them where they keep them. They're typically near the checkout stand. But if you don't see them, ask somebody. And it's a free, easy resource for you to be able to test the quality of your water. And just so you can be aware, it's like, okay, what's in my water? Hopefully nothing. Hopefully everything that's supposed to be there. But just to be aware and just know what's going on because water is a necessity, as we all know. And then I have backup water sources established, rainwater collection, a private well. Even if you don't have a private well, does somebody you know have a well? So it doesn't necessarily have to be this. And now this is the thing I want to get us into is realizing we can't sustain by ourselves. It takes a community. It's not an I, it's a we. And so even if you don't necessarily have these things, do you know somebody that does? And being able to get access to that private well water or stored emergency water. Depending on the size family you have, they typically say for a person, you want to at least have a gallon of water a day. You can stretch it a lot of times, half a gallon, different things. But like if there's emergency situations, which is a reality we see, and it's like, do we have anything stored up, or is it a day to day just getting what we need? And it's little steps. It doesn't necessarily mean go out and buy 50 gallons of water and put up. But just like with the buy one, get one free, if you just buy one extra every time you go and just put it to the side, and over time, you'll be amazed at how much that builds up. Go to the next slide. The emergency readiness dashboard. That's what I wanted to get. Your minimum requirements for a stable household buffer. So we know a buffer is what gives you some space in between, some in between time. Ideally, you want to have a minimum 2 week food supply of non-perishable foods. So we're talking lentils, we're talking beans, peas, your canned foods, also your rices, your couscous, your different things. And at some stores, you're able to see if there's a market anywhere near you. Some of these bigger markets, like I say, your Costco's, your Sam's, we have the DeKalb Farmers Market here, Namde Moon. It's a lot of different little stores that you'll be surprised where you can get bulk ingredients and just being able to go in there and you can get a 50-pound, 25-pound bag of rice that you're able to put into the side, get and put to the side, put up or break down into smaller gallon bags that you're just able to you number one, it stretches your dollar. You're getting a lot more for your dollar purchase. And it's also allowing you to at that point track, okay, how much food are we consuming in a week? Your cooking method. Uh, do you just have one way of preparing your food? You know? If so, how can you stretch that? How can you expand that? I think we have a question, maybe something beat. Let me see. Maybe it'll come up. Your screen sharing. I'm not able to see it at the moment, but I'll be able to get to it. Do you have a grill? Do you have fire safe cookware? So I was camping this past weekend and I had some cast iron skillet. I had a cast iron skillet. And so with a cast iron skillet, I was able to put the whole skillet on top of the fire. Farmer's market, rainwater. Okay, there it goes. Was able to do all of that. And I was able to make some unleavened bread. I was able to cook up some lamb, all right there on the open fire. And I had me a mitt, and I was able to prepare a little meal. Like I say, this isn't necessarily, oh, this is something I'm gonna have to do, but if something does happen, the power goes out from a storm, or if you're on gas and something happens, you want to be able to have a way to prepare your food. They've got these things called solar ovens, that are cool little contraptions, fun little things that you're able to cook with the sun. Like I say, not necessarily something, this is a break glass in case of emergency situation. So not necessarily every day, but just in case. Your water supply, like we talked about, that 1 gallon per person per day. And then your rotation system, first in, first out. Implement to avoid spoilage. So as you're building up your seed bank, or not your seed bank, your food bank at your own house or at a community member spot, you know, you want to rotate your food. So if there's a shelf, if there is a life on it, you want to keep it moving. So if it went in, use all of that up before you open up another bag and cycle it. You want to cycle it. Check it. Make sure that you put it in a secure place. Um, Even if it comes in a bag that's sealed, they've got these. I like to just use some of the large trash bags. Put the bigger stuff into there that's scented because a lot of stuff doesn't like scents. Especially if it's somewhere like in a shed or in the basement somewhere, that'll help deter different things that may want to try to get into it if they find it. Um, Real easy, real easy. On to the next slide. Macronutrient pantry blueprint. Just your staples, your grains, your rice, pastas. Those are things that you can typically get in bulk from those stores, like I was saying. Your canned and jar foods. If you know somebody that's growing food, these are some things that you can do. Or like I said, a lot of times some of this stuff will be on the buy one get one free at whatever store that you're at. Your protein sources, your chickens, your lentils, your tunas. You may not have eggs, but maybe one of your neighbors has some chickens that has some eggs. Jerky, as we all know, lasts lasts real long time. And just having just different things on site and available in case they're needed. And then your baking essentials, as we know, flour, cornmeal, yeast, sugar, honey. You can get bulk salt. I like a little salt. You don't want to put too much salt in food, but having a little, getting these things in bulk, like I say, you just have them put up and have them available in case of emergencies. Extending the shelf life and preservation methods. So we have cold storage. That's going to be your fridge and your freezer. The function, extend the life of fresh food. Key habit, label all foods with expiration dates. Absolutely. Especially if you have just a secondary fridge for food. If you have the space for a deep freezer, being it, that's one of the best ways that you're able to store food long term. With that additional stuff that you're either buying or if you're buying in bulk or if you're pulling it out your garden, being able to put it in the deep freezer and watch it fill up. Your dry storage, your pantry, maximizing shelf stable life. Use airtight containers, as we know. Dehydration, removing the moisture to be able to stretch food. It's an excellent way to make different types of fruit. What do they call it? I don't want to say not fruit roll-ups, but your fruit leather, with your fresh fruits that you get. It's a way to extend the shelf life of them and a good substitute for candy for the children, And you don't necessarily have to have a dehydrator in order to dehydrate food. You can dehydrate things in the oven on really low. You can also use the sun to dehydrate some food. So don't think that you have to go to the store and buy a dehydrator in order to have dehydrated food. Use what you have available and you can make it work. And even if you don't have one, maybe someone in your community does that you're able to get access to for one. Canning. This was a very common practice. I have a cousin, my cousin Scooter. He makes wild plum jelly, and he's all the way in Mississippi. But every year, I can expect to get some wild plum jelly from my cousin. And so, like I say, even if you don't have access to do some of these things, there may be someone in your network that does. The farmer's market, like we were talking about, you may have somebody there that just cans and preserves food. Um, and yeah, and it lasts for years, especially with the canning. But now they've got the technology as well too, where you can and vacuum seal things. It's a little twist on cap that you put on, and it's all digital remote. You hit the button, it does it, and it's over with. So it's a great resource. I see some questions. We have an old time pot belly stove outside that was wonderful during the hurricane. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. We cooked breakfast every day using it. Wow. Wow. So just having it on hand, it's not something you use every day, but when the hurricane came through, y'all were able to eat. The self-rising flour disappeared for a long time during the hurricane. Okay. I now buy extra every time I go to the store. Very good point. Thank you for that. Because in the case of an emergency, you're not going to be able to necessarily run to the store and get what you typically would be able to get. So we'd like to say this is just a buffer zone. So if things do shut down or something happens for a week or two, you're able to still have some sense of normality. Because as everybody on here is as a parent, those little people are going to be hungry and they're going to be doing this right here and they're going to have an expectation. So being able to think about these things ahead of time is really good. It's fruit leather. Yes. Okay. Good. I want to make sure I hit some of those. All right. I'm going to go to the next slide. Garden access flow chart. Okay. So I want to show you all a video before I get into this one because a lot of times we think we need a lot of space in order to be able to grow some food, and it doesn't take a lot of space. So I'm going to share this video with you all. This is of my home and one of my sites, and I'm going to be able to tell you everything that's growing in it. So check it out. One of the rare.
Oh, so we need to get off the color. 5.
5. Okay, let's keep looking. You count for me though.
Corey, we're not seeing your video.
It didn't pop up?
No.
Okay. Your screen sharing is paused. How did that happen? Okay. Let's go to share. Okay, let me see. We tested this, y'all. I promise you we did. Let me escape out of the full screen. Maybe if I put that down. Or that. Do you see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, so let me. Did the PowerPoint go away? Or you still see it?
Still see it.
Okay. Did the video pop up?
No.
I know why. 1 second. Like that. Now I'm gonna go here. Let's go to share. Okay, are you able to see it now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. There we go. One of the rare.
Oh, so we need to get off the color. 5.
So when you first saw it was the
Okay,
winter.
let's keep looking.
This is when spring came in.
Yep, it's the time of the year.
Now, what you want to tell them? What you growing? What's all in the garden?
Strawberry
And what else?
and mint.
Okay, and what else?
Rosemary.
Okay. I see some rosemary right there. And what else?
Sunflower.
Yeah, we do got a little sunflower up there. We're gonna put some love on it. Pray that it do what it's supposed to do, which it will. Anything else out here? Yeah, we do got them onions right there. Yeah, we do got some lemon thyme there. What else we got? What else we got? You remember that one? Oh, that's that mustard. That's that purple leaf mustard.
Mustard.
What about them trees? That's a what?
Now which one should I?
The ones that are red all the way around? Like
Yeah.
this one. This is a good one. Right there.
This one?
Yeah, that one.
All right. So let me go back on over here to to the PowerPoint. Let me go with it. No, that wasn't the right one. Where did I put that? There we go. All right. Is the screen still sharing? Just want to
Yep, so we're
confirm.
all good.
Okay, perfect. So in that garden plot, you all, you see it wasn't a lot of space. It wasn't a lot of space at all. But we had strawberries. We have strawberries, which we still pick. We pick a handful of strawberries every day. We have rosemary, we have mint, we have oregano, we've got the wild onion that has those little purple flowers on it. The flowers are edible. And they are so prolific. They just grow, grow, grow. We also have fig tree out there. We have mulberry tree out there. We also will have potatoes in the ground, and we have some that mustard, the purple leaf mustard, and some watermelons are actually popping up out there too, which will grow. And so last year we had some vines grow out there, and we were able to pick a whole watermelon just out of that little space. So within that one space, we're able to have over 5 different things. And like I tell people, it's not always about being able to have an abundance of things, but you want to have something just to be able to have something. So if you have some space, this is just an easy flow chart. Um, in order to follow. And even if, but most importantly, if you don't have space, if you don't have any space, let's say you're in an apartment, do you know somebody that does have a little space that you can use? Or are you able to go talk to the property managers and see maybe about getting a community garden going or something, or area for you to be able to grow a little something? You know, you got to ask. All they can say is yes or no. So just being able to get access wherever you are, wherever you are. Have you come across snakes, foxes, squirrels, or insects in your garden? And what can you do to keep them out? Very good question. I actually have not come across in this garden per se. I haven't come across any foxes or any squirrels because it's in a more urban area. But I do have a farm that's further out, and out there is everything: deer, beavers, rabbits, squirrels, a little bit of everything, snakes. I have had some snakes. Well, one snake in the garden that you just saw, but it was a little garden snake. And one of the benefits when we talk about regenerative agriculture is it eats slugs, slugs like like your strawberries. So if they're not poisonous and they're not big, I typically would let them live and work in the ecosystem, because if you create a proper ecosystem, then you don't have to continually put inputs in that you have to purchase. I tell people we've been growing food for thousands of years before we could ever go to the store and purchase something. And so we can grow food. Food, it doesn't cost to grow food. It really doesn't. It's just knowing how to look at the environment, observe it, and then how to put the different pieces together. What a beautiful garden. It's the variety, the mint, rosemary, and lemon thyme grows in the garden really helps with insects. Yes, that's a really good one. Having those herbs, they really help keep insects away. I love some watermelon. I highly suggest everybody try some seeded watermelon, some watermelon and lemon thyme juice. It is quite delightful. I have a 10 by 10 fenced in area to keep critters out. I have deer, rabbit, and groundhogs. Okay. So you able to keep them out that way. That's good with that fence. Also, cayenne pepper. Mammals do not like cayenne pepper. The only thing about cayenne pepper is you're going to have to reapply after it rains. So it works, but that's still buying an input. One of the things that I know deer do not like, as well as other mammals, are aliens. Aliens are your what is that? You've got your garlic. You also have your onions. So those wild onions. That's one of the things that I use in order to, and I put them everywhere and I put them around the perimeter because that's going to be the first thing that any mammals are going to run into. And once they get a whiff of that onion or that garlic, they're going to retreat. They want no parts. I have started a small garden with pots. I have lettuce, cucumbers, onions, tomatoes. What can I do to prevent critters? Yes. So all of these things can help to prevent critters. You can put the aliens out or different things that they don't like, and also the cayenne pepper and different things. I'll get into some more of the garden stuff. This is good. I'm happy to hear that everybody's interested in this. Um, One of the greatest pieces of this is, let me just take this off the screen, is this action involve the children. You see, I have some of my children out there with me, and that's what we do. It's a good time. We're out there just spending a little time together, you know, and we're getting our dinner. So we'll go out there for dinner sometimes, cut some onion, grab a little rosemary, and then be able to go in and cook. Strawberry leaves are also edible. I'll say that too. So strawberry leaves are very high in vitamin C, and they are also edible. But if you don't have any outside space, indoors or on windowsills, I want everybody to think about for a moment, where does the sun rise where you live and where does it set? For some, it'll rise in the front of the house and set in the back of the house. So we know that's east. This is part of the orientation I do with that high sunshine. So back to the song. So it's like if you want to grow something, you need to know where the sun is, how much amount of sunlight is gotten throughout the day. Some is on the sides of the house. So you may want a garden in your backyard, but if your backyard is shaded and it doesn't get any sunlight, that's not going to be the place to put your garden, or you're going to be limited on what you'll be able to grow because some things can grow in shade. But those are things to think about. Do you have at least 6 hours of the sunlight? Like we were just talking about, test your soil. You know, you can always do a soil test with the UGA, but even if you don't, there's different plants that help clean the soil, sunflowers being one. And that's a way to help actually purify your soil as well as copperweed is another one. And so knowing the different things that are growing in your space, because I want to make sure I leave time for questions. And then your local connection web, your farmers markets, your household in the middle, but your farmers markets, and talk directly to vendors about their growing practices. Know how they're growing their food. Just because something is organic, that does not mean that they're not using chemicals. You have regenerative agriculture, then you have organic agriculture, then you have conventional agriculture. Sometimes the only difference between your organic and your regenerative a lot of times is the fact that somebody had the ability to pay for the license to put organic. So they may be growing food organically or regeneratively or resiliently, but they don't have the licensing for it. So talk to them, build that connection, build that relationship. CSA programs, that's your community supported agriculture. Seasonal subscription boxes, they'll have a delivery site. You're able to get it. You're good to go. Pickup locations, all those kinds of things. And you're directly helping your farmer. And then direct farm purchases. Support local agriculture by buying meat and produce. You know, finding a butcher, get a whole cow. A group of you, your church group, your sporting group, whatever group, your teachers, your work group, whoever, y'all can go in together and buy a whole cow. And you're going to get double, sometimes triple the amount of meat for your dollar purchase. And we see how much the price of food is going up. So being able to do that is important. And I'm going to throw this part on here, especially down here in Georgia. Remember a few months ago, we had the egg shortage. So whether you had a little bit of money or whether you had a lot of money, if you didn't know a farmer with eggs, you did not have eggs, or know a neighbor or somebody that had eggs, you just didn't have eggs. And so we have to think about this from a food security standpoint. If the truck does not come to the grocery store, or the truck doesn't go to the farmer to go to the grocery store, How will I get some of these basic foods that I use on a regular basis? And then this is the resilient household ecosystem. And we want to think systems, 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 systems. What does the system look like? Access to community system inputs, access and community, strategic local sourcing, direct farm connections, rainwater collection, internal cycles, storage, water, so forth and so on. Out outputs of supplement production, container garden, supplement the kitchen, reducing reliance on extreme external grocery chains. And also with your waste, if you do get a garden and get something going, you can have a compost. And even if you don't want to do full-blown compost because you don't have the space, you can do what's called vermicompost, which you can do in 5-gallon buckets. And then you're able to feed your garden system or your herb plants and be able to use what otherwise would have been going to a landfill and doing what landfills do. And so I want everybody to choose an immediate action step, whether that's identify one local food source or a CSA, audit and organize your pantry using the first in, first out rotation method, and or start growing one simple herb or green at home. And if you need any help, if you're able to go, well, you can go to my website, which is yaroots.com, and we offer consultation services and garden plans, all of those kinds of things, even building services if you need somebody to build it, whether that's a little plot like you saw or a 100-acre farm. You know, if you got some family land that you want to use, we're able to help on all scales. And please check out our social media, which is Yaroots on all social media, YAHROOTZ. And we have a free consultation, free 10-minute call consultation just to be able to get some grounding and get some footing. So please use the resource because it's available. And now I want to open up for questions. If there's any questions, I want to make sure that we have time for that.
Corey, we do have a couple questions already
Okay.
that I'll share. And then as we're talking, feel free to go ahead and type your questions either in the Q&A or in the chat box, either one, and we'll get to as many as we can. So Corey, this first one here, I read this in a certain tone. It may not be the tone that was intended, but I'm going to read it to you in the way that I
Okay.
read it in my head because I think it's funny.
Perfect.
Did you say that greens have more vitamin C than oranges?
Yes. Yes. Some greens, not all greens, but some greens. But typically, and you know, really it's to get us to understand and think about, we typically only think about citrus for vitamin C. You can get vitamin C even if you don't have fresh citrus available to you.
Right. And then someone was interested in a little more information on dehydrating food. What is dehydrating food? Why should we do it?
Okay, very good question. Dehydrating food is when basically you're stripping away the water content from the food. So think about a grape. A grape dehydrated is a raisin. You know, think about the shelf life. Think about how long raisins last in your pantry compared to how long grapes last. And so when we think about that buffer zone and being able to have something on hand if the power goes out or something happens, that's when that dehydrated food lasts and goes longer. Another good one is dates. Most of the dates that we get, though, that's dehydrated. The fresh date is full of water, full of, I mean, wonderful, wonderful. But when you dehydrate it, it now lasts longer. You can go to the store, you find dehydrated mangoes, dehydrated all sorts of peaches, all sorts of stuff. And it's good because it allows you to have access to some of your favorite fruits a little bit later on in the season as well too. Even after the season has come and gone. And like I
Great.
say, it's an easy process. They've got dehydrators online that you can buy, but you don't have to buy those things in order to dehydrate some food.
Celeste is hoping you'll talk a little bit more about how to start a 5-gallon compost.
Okay, perfect. So the 5 gallon worm compost, it's called vermiculture. Vermiculture, vermiculture. And there's a bunch of stuff online about it. But basically, you get two $3 buckets from your Home Depot or your Lowe's. In one bucket, you're gonna just drill some holes in it all the way around. And those holes are drilled in order to allow for liquid because worms, they like it moist, but they don't like it real moist. They don't want to be flooded. And so that allows for the liquid to drain into the bottom bucket because you're going to put the bucket that has the holes in it into the other bucket. And then what you're going to do is you're going to do a bed of some leaves or of some straw or of some grass clippings. A lot of times you can just go into wherever a little wooded area is and dig up some worms, or you can purchase worms. That is an option too. But a lot of times there's worms available. The best time to hunt for some worms is in the cool of the day, whether that's in the beginning of the day before the sun gets high and when the dew is still out, or that's when we get the term the early bird gets the worm. Because in the cooler parts of the day, the worms are closer up to the surface of the soil because when it gets hotter, they're going to burrow and go down deeper to try to avoid the heat. And so you can get you some worms without having to purchase them. From there, put some worms in there, just a handful. Not even, when I say a handful, you put 5 to 10 worms in them. You'll be surprised how much they can grow. Then you're going to put some of your compostable items in there. You want to avoid dairy. You also want to avoid citrus. You also want to avoid oils, heavy oils, things that have heavy oil in them, and meat and bones when you're doing vermiculture compost. But like your banana peels, your leftover rice, if it doesn't have a lot of oil or butter or things in it, your apple cores, your pear cores, um, your leftover greens. Like if you're processing, if you're cooking some squash or something, those parts that you typically throw out that you don't eat. All of
Corey,
those.
how about eggshells? I always hear about that.
You always hear, I would not suggest putting them directly into the vermicompost without washing them.
Okay.
You're going to want to get off those microbes. You want to get those microbes off by washing them, and then you can add them into it. Or you can just put your eggshells to the side, rinse them off, and then crush them up later on and make them powdery. I have a 4-year-old and he likes to smash everything. So getting a gallon bag and storing up your eggshells after you rinse them off and let them dry, and then letting your little person smash them up, and then adding them into the vermicompost as well. And then after you put that down, then you'll put some more leaves, grass cutting, straw, whatever you have available, newspaper in some cases too, or that packing paper if you get your Amazon packages, you know, and you put that in there on top. And then you just feed the system. You just watch your worm population grow. And as that liquid builds up at the bottom, you can take that and use that in your garden. That's your fertilizer. And then eventually, once your bucket fills up, now you've got a 5 gallon bucket full of compost. And then you start the process over again.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. So looks like we are out of time. So Corey, I'd like to thank you so very, very much for being here. We had some great comments and questions. I'm glad we got to do all that. I appreciate all of our viewers for being here as well for our first Eat, Learn, Grow webinar. Eat, Learn, Grow is part of Quality Care for Children's local food efforts, Farm to ECE, and our nutrition education. So great, great information that you shared today, Corey. I got a lot out of it, and I imagine everyone else did too.
All right. Thank you all for having us. I pray everybody receives something and has an actionable step that they can do today or within the next week. And please, if you have any additional questions, reach out. I'm accessible and I'm here to help. Everyone have a good one.
Thanks. Bye.